But this is useful for me kind of like on a weekly or every other week, just to check and make sure that what we've done for the last 2 weeks, if we extrapolated that over the whole month or for the next couple months, would we be in a good spot? Like, would we be profitable? So basically, I'll go ahead and just break down some definitions. So PC stands for profit contribution, and you'll see it pop up multiple times in these calculators. And then there's different levels to it. So I know a lot of people like to just use like contribution margin, but this also includes operating expenses at the last step, which is why I like it. And then so PC1 would be your revenue. So this is like all your revenue, and then minus your shipping, taxes, cost of goods, returns and discounts, everything that takes away from profit. And so your PC1 is basically how much product revenue is basically contributing towards profit, and after product revenue, how much is left to pay for advertising and then operating expenses. And then so PC2 is your profit contribution 1, and then subtract advertising and marketing. And some people switch their PC2 and PC3, but I just prefer to do it this way, where we subtract advertising and marketing and then we subtract operating expenses. Some people subtract operating expenses and then they subtract advertising and marketing, but I just prefer to do it this way. So yeah, PC2 or profit contribution 2 is PC1 minus your advertising and marketing expenses. So this is what's left over to pay operating expenses after selling the product and advertising the product. And then profit contribution 3, this is the last one. This is kind of your bottom line. This is after advertising and marketing expenses and the cost of or shipping and taxes and cost of goods and returns and discounts. This is what you have left over to pay for operating expenses, so things like payroll or what have you. This is kind of the bottom line here. And then per order, I like to contextualize everything on a per order basis. So you take any of the above metrics basically and divide by the number of orders. And then OPD is just orders per day.
So kind of sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you do it on a per order basis. For your brand, are you breaking it out for every order because the prices I'm assuming will be different for every product, or how does it currently work? Because I notice you have AOV on row 11, and if I'm doing like a if we're doing like unit economic session, for example, we'll usually have like it for different products rather than, or if we have like a top 3 products, we'll do it for top 3 products and not like a blended almost, because it kind of varies depending on where you're driving traffic or how consumers currently buy as well.
Yeah. For us, well, this is just like very holistic right here. But for us, we are mostly selling. So we sell like the basic care package, and then there's like some bundling as well. But like the main focus is like the one product of sending a care package. We do have like upsells and stuff, but this is like,
right.
And I also put in fake numbers, like our AOV isn't $100 for
just for example. Yeah. So when you look, okay, let's say you've got one product, and then if we're talking about scale, for example, what numbers do you kind of look at and be like, okay, cool, I'm happy with this profit per day to be like, let's increase budgets, or if we're looking to forecast to increase budgets, I'm happy to sacrifice this amount of gross margin, for example, whatever it may be.
Yeah. I think we'll get into that a little bit more as I keep going into this.
Sweet.
So I'll just keep going for now, but save that question in case I don't address it.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, okay, so I'll just keep going here. So inputs and outputs, same colors as the last sheet. Um, so basically, the first thing you do is you take the current orders per day and times the days in the month. That's how many orders you're going to have in the month. I think that's pretty straightforward. Um, and then where it gets a little more granular is so this is average order value with like everything included. I know Shopify has recently taken out like shipping and taxes and discounts or something. So this is like AOV with everything in it, and then basically everything else is subtracting from the AOV in order to get to the PC1 per order. So profit contribution one per order would be is basically your AOV minus all your shipping, your taxes, your cost of goods, your returns, and discounts. And it's all per order. So if you have like a profit and loss sheet, just take all of these expenses and divide them by the number of orders, like historically, and you'll get a good idea of all of these things. And so if you're that gives you your profit contribution one per order. And then you take that to the profit estimator, which I misspelled profit. I'm going to fix real quick. And then so you have your orders per month and your PC1 per order. Let's say your CPA was $30. That means your P2 per order would be 18 because it's just subtracting here your cost of advertising and marketing. That's your PC2 per order. And then you have your overhead expense broken down to per order, and we'll get into this a little more. And then your bottom line, your PC3 per order. And then since you had 21,000 orders for that month, or you're projecting that you're going to have 21,000 orders this month at this PC3 per order, then that's your estimated profit. And so let's say, well, we'll kind of explain the overhead expense per order first, which goes into this correlation example sheet. So this is basically a historical analysis with fake numbers again, but you just put in X values and Y values, and the more you have, the better. Like I wouldn't trust a correlation unless you had at least like, I don't know, this many inputs and outputs. Like this is a very limited sample, but just for the purpose of example. Um, so let's say orders per day is your X value, and then operating expense per order is your Y value. So you would do this like a historical analysis. So let's say this was like January 2023, February, March, April, May, and then your operating expenses divided by however many orders you had that month to get your operating expense per order. And then this is all formulas, and then you come out with the correlation coefficient. So uh, a positive one. So just a background on correlations. 0 is no correlation. Positive 1 is a perfect positive correlation. And then negative 1 is a perfect negative correlation. So basically what this is saying, it's close to a negative 1. So this is a very strong negative correlation. But what that means is as orders per day increases, operating expenses per order decreases. And this is something you'll have to see if it's true for brands that you're working with, but it's true for us where the higher orders or the more orders we have, the more we can break away from operating expenses, um, which is really important if you can't get to a better efficiency on acquiring customers. Like, say, you are stuck at a $32 CPA, but it doesn't really change much if you scale. So if you get like 100 more orders per day, then you can actually cut your operating expense per order down, and then um, actually end up being more profitable. So then this little tool down here is just to estimate what your this is to estimate the with using the correlation coefficient. You can put in an X input and estimate a Y output. I say estimate just because it is an estimation, and I wouldn't trust this. In fact, I would probably always if I were like profit forecasting here, if this is my overhead expense per order, I may add $1 or two here just to kind of be safe, um, especially if margins are really tight. Um, but yeah, so this can really help. And this, I think, is starting to tie into your question, Rahul. Um, but this is where, okay, um, let's say we're struggling for a couple weeks. We're only at 550 orders per day. Our CPA is up $2. And let's see, if we're at 550 orders per day, we're really eating a lot on operating expenses per order just because we don't have as many orders. Then you can see how that, I think this was like 175 before the changes. Um, but then, and just to be safe, add a little bit.